It's a fair question. A really good one, actually. Did he know? In that moment, singing that specific song, did it hit him? The realization that the magic, the physical power that made him who he was fading. That the instrument was finally breaking. To get there, you have to understand where he was. Not just physically on a stage in some Midwestern city, but where he was in his life. This wasn't 1956, this wasn't even 1968, this was 1977, the end of the line. And he had to have felt it in his bones. The man on stage was a shadow. A brilliant, captivating, tragic shadow, but a shadow nonetheless. Think about the comeback. That black leather suit in 68, he was dangerous again. He was lean hungry and his voice was a weapon. It had deepened, it had more texture, more soul than the kid who wiggled on the Ed Sullivan Show. He had lived a little. He had been through the Hollywood wilderness making those silly movies. And he came back to reclaim his throne. And he did. He absolutely did. Then came Vegas. At first it was electric. He assembled the best band in the world, the TCB band. These guys could play anything. Rock, gospel, country, blues. And he was the general leading the charge every night. The energy in those early Vegas shows was off the charts. He was in control. The voice was a cannon. He could hit the high notes, drop down to a whisper, and hold the entire room in the palm of his hand. He was Elvis Presley, the king. It was undeniable, but you can't maintain that forever. The machine started to grind. The schedule was insane. 2 shows a night in Vegas for a month straight. Then back out on the road, city after city. The pressure was immense. Every single person in that audience came to see a god. They didn't come to see a tired man from Tupelo. They came to see the lightning bolts. And he had to deliver it every single night. So the crutches appeared, the prescription pills, uppers to get him on stage, downers to get him to sleep, painkillers for his various ailments. His body was starting to betray him. Glaucoma, an enlarged colon, high blood pressure. The food, the isolation in his Graceland bubble, the constant pressure, it all took a toll. You could see it. The weight gain was the most obvious sign. The tight-fitting jumpsuits became less a symbol of a superhero and more a constraint, a costume hiding a man who was unwell. And the voice started to change. It was still a magnificent instrument. On a good night, he could still blow the roof off the place. He could still sing a gospel song with so much feeling it would bring you to tears. He could still snarl his way through a rock and roll classic, but the consistency was gone. Some nights he sounded tired, breathy. He would slur his words. He would forget lyrics. He would lean on his backup singers to carry the heavy load. The band would watch him, waiting for a cue, sometimes unsure which version of their boss would show up that night. The focused, powerful performer or the distracted, rambling man who seemed lost on his own stage. So that's the context. A man fighting a war on multiple fronts. Against his own body, against his own fame, against the expectations of the world. He was tired. Deeply, existentially tired. Now, let's talk about the song. It wasn't even his song, which is maybe the most important part of this whole story. It belonged to someone else. It was the absolute signature song of another legend. The chairman of the board. A guy who represented a whole different kind of cool. Polished, sophisticated, worldly. The song itself is an anthem of self-justification. So it's a final statement. It's a man looking back at his life, the good and the bad, and declaring that he has no regrets. He faced it all, stood tall, and did it his way. It's an old man's song, really. It has the weight of a life fully lived. It's reflective. When Sinatra sang it, you believed him. You could hear the late-night tumblers of whiskey, the broken hearts, the triumphs in his voice. It was a perfect fit, so why would Elvis sing it? He was only in his early 40s. It was a strange choice. It was almost like he was adopting someone else's epitaph. Sure. But maybe he felt like an old man. Maybe he felt like he had already lived 100 lifetimes. He started performing it in the early 70s, and in the beginning, he owned it. He turned it into something else. He wasn't the sophisticated crooner looking back with a wry smile. He was a gladiator in the arena. When he sang it, it was a declaration of defiance. It was less about quiet reflection and more about a booming operatic assertion of his own will. His version was bigger, brasher. It was a Vegas showstopper. The climax of that song is a monster. It requires tremendous breath control, power, and projection. You have to build and build and build to this massive, soaring final note. It's a vocal mountain you have to climb every single time, and for years he climbed it. He planted his flag at the summit every night. The Aloha from Hawaii satellite broadcast in 1973 is a perfect example. He's in great shape, looks fantastic, and he absolutely nails the song. It's powerful, controlled, and epic. It's a statement of strength. But let's fast forward 4 years. to the spring and summer of 1977. The last tour, the photos and videos from this time are hard to look at. He's bloated, sweaty, his eyes heavy. He's clearly not well. There were shows where he could barely get through the set. He'd sit at the piano, something he rarely did, and it felt less like a musical choice and more like a necessity. He needed to sit down. He needed a moment to catch his breath, and he was still singing that song, the big one, the anthem. Now, imagine being him. You know you're not right. You know you don't have the same power. Every breath is a little harder. The notes that used to come easy are now a struggle. And yet, you have this song in your set list, a song that demands everything you have, maybe a little more. You could have dropped it. You could have chosen something easier, but he didn't. He kept it in. Why? Maybe it was pride. Maybe it was a refusal to admit defeat. Maybe, on some level, the lyrics had become more true for him than ever before. He was at the end, and he was facing that final curtain. So we come to the moment. The specific performance that people point to. It was filmed for a television special. His last one, it was June 1977, in Rapid City, South Dakota. He knew the cameras were on him. He knew this was for posterity. He sits at the piano. He looks exhausted. He's pouring sweat under the hot stage lights. He takes a deep breath and begins. The opening verses are quiet, conversational. His voice is a bit thick, a little slurry, but it's there. It has that familiar, beautiful tone. He's telling the story of the song. He's setting the scene. You can feel him gathering his strength, conserving his energy for what he knows is coming. The band is right there with him. They're watching him like hawks. They rise and fall with his every breath. They know he's struggling. They're trying to build a net of music underneath him to catch him if he falls. But in the end, he has to sing the notes. They can't do that for him. As the song builds, you can see the effort. This isn't the easy soaring performance from Hawaii. This is a fight. It's a physical battle between the man and the song. You can see the strain on his face. His eyes are closed tight. He's pushing. He's digging deep for every bit of air in his lungs. And then comes the climax. The big, final statement. The part of the song that everyone is waiting for. He has to summon a hurricane of sound. And he goes for it. He absolutely goes for it. He doesn't hold back. He doesn't cheat. He doesn't look for an easy way out. He rears back and pushes the notes out with every ounce of will he possesses. And this is where the question comes in. Was he losing his voice? The answer is yes and no. The pure, effortless power wasn't there. You can hear it. There's a strain, a crackle. It's not the perfect, polished sound of his prime. It's flawed, it's raw, it's the sound of a man at the very end of his rope. It's the sound of a voice that has been through tens of thousands of songs, thousands of nights on the road, a lifetime of pressure. But in that moment of struggle, something else happens. The performance becomes something more than just a song. It becomes a documentary. You are witnessing a man's fight against his own limitations in real time. He's not hiding it. He can't. It's all right there laid bare for everyone to see. The sweat, the strain, the sheer effort of it. Did he realize he was losing his voice right then and there? I don't think it was a sudden revelation. He had to have known for months, maybe years. He would feel it in his throat after a show. He would hear it on the playbacks. He wasn't a fool. He knew his body was failing him. But I think that performance, on camera, under the lights, singing that particular song, was a moment of public confirmation. It was the moment he could no longer pretend. He couldn't hide behind the charisma or the swagger. The song was too demanding. It was an X-ray, revealing the fractures in the foundation. He gets through it. He hits the final note. It's not the prettiest note he ever sang. But he hits it. And the crowd erupts. They're not cheering for a perfect vocal performance. They are cheering for the man. They are cheering for the fight they just witnessed. They saw him go to war for 3 minutes and win. A costly victory, but a victory nonetheless. He looks utterly spent. He stands up from the piano, drenched, and takes a bow. It's one of the most powerful and heartbreaking pieces of footage in music history. It's a man showing you everything he has left, and it's barely enough, but it is enough. Just a few weeks later, he was gone. So that performance became his de facto farewell. And the song, an anthem he borrowed, became inextricably linked to his final days. It's a haunting performance because we know what happens next. We know the curtain really was coming down. I don't think the song made him realize he was losing his voice. I think he already knew. But that song, in that moment, forced him to confront it in front of the world. It was a test, and by choosing to sing it, he was refusing to go quietly. He was going to stand there in his sequin jumpsuit, a flawed and failing king, and he was going to give it one last monumental push. He was going to show everyone, and maybe himself, that even though the instrument was damaged, the will was still there. The spirit was still there. The lyrics of the song are about looking back with no regrets. But When he sang it that night, it felt different. It felt less like a look back and more like a final, desperate act in the present. A statement of existence. I am still here. I am still fighting. I will not surrender. It's the imperfection that makes it so powerful. If he had sung it perfectly, it would have just been another great performance. But because he struggled, because we can hear the fraying at the edges, it becomes a document of his humanity. It strips away the myth and shows you the man. The tired, sick, but unbelievably courageous man underneath. He took a song about a life well lived and in his final days turned it into a testament to the struggle of dying. He wasn't looking back on his life with a sense of calm completion. He was raging against the dying of the light. And he used that song as his weapon. So, to answer the question, was it the song that made him realize he was losing his voice? No. I think it was the song he chose to sing while knowing his voice was being lost. He chose the hardest mountain to climb, right at the end, to prove he could still get to the top. Even if he was crawling by the time he got there, he did it his way. The song was My Way.